Have you ever imagined that during the height of the Cold War, the Soviet Union was secretly building machines so enormous, so powerful, that they looked more like props from a sci-fi movie than real trucks? These weren't just vehicles, they were mobile fortresses, built to crush through frozen tundra, wade through swamps, haul intercontinental missiles, and even rescue astronauts stranded in the icy wilderness of Siberia. While the world's attention was fixed on tanks, jets, and nuclear submarines, Soviet engineers were quietly pushing the limits of physics, designing trucks that could survive where no roads existed and no ordinary machine could follow. These were feats of pure engineering madness, massive, unstoppable, and decades ahead of their time. So, let me ask you, have you ever heard of these Cold War giants? Or do you just think you have? Because today, we're taking you deep into the world of the biggest, toughest, and most outrageous Soviet trucks ever built. Machines so huge, so overpowered, they still leave modern engineers speechless. Stick around till the end, because the number one truck on this list doesn't just break records, it shatters them. ZIL 135. If the MAZ was all about focused, brute power, then the ZIL 135 was pure engineering madness, and somehow, it worked. Developed by ZIL in the late 1950s, this monster didn't rely on just one engine. It had two V8 engines, each powering one side of the truck independently. Sounds insane? It was, but it delivered results. The truck measured over 33 feet long, 10 feet wide, and nearly 10 feet tall, weighing around 44,000 pounds empty. Fully loaded, it could haul another 22,000 pounds, often carrying Frog 7 missiles or other mobile battlefield systems. Together, its twin engines produced over 400 horsepower, driving an 8-wheel drive system that allowed it to plow through terrain that would destroy most vehicles. Thanks to independent suspension on each axle, it stayed surprisingly balanced, even when rumbling across craters or frozen fields. Its appearance was unforgettable. The cab sat up front, narrow windows peering out from a squared-off nose that looked straight out of a science fiction Land Cruiser. When the rear missile launcher was raised, the entire truck seemed to transform into a mobile fortress. But why such a massive design? Speed and stability. Once a missile was launched, the ZIL 135 needed to relocate immediately. Smaller vehicles simply couldn't handle the recoil or balance required. Despite its complexity, it earned a reputation for remarkable reliability throughout its service life. And here's the part that still amazes engineers: even if one engine failed, the ZIL 135 could still keep driving, making it one of the most redundant and overbuilt military trucks ever produced. Today, it's a favorite among Cold War collectors, with a few fully functional examples still roaring across Russia and Eastern Europe. Loving these Cold War beasts? Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the biggest, most outrageous Soviet machines are still ahead. MAZ 537. Even today, the MAZ 537 stands as one of the greatest symbols of Soviet raw power. Introduced in the late 1950s, it was built with a single mission: to tow the heaviest machinery the Soviet Union could produce. We're talking tanks, ballistic missiles, mobile bridges, and cargo so massive it seemed to defy the laws of physics. This truck was a true giant. Over 30 feet long, 11.5 feet wide, and 10 feet tall, it weighed an incredible 47,000 pounds empty. Yet it could effortlessly pull loads of up to 110,000 pounds without breaking a sweat. Powering this mechanical monster was a 38.8-liter V12 diesel engine producing over 525 horsepower, delivering insane torque that could literally drag a tank through deep mud or snow. With 8-wheel drive and torsion bar suspension, it could cross deserts, frozen tundra, or swampy plains like it was built for them, because it was. From afar, the MAZ 537 didn't just look powerful, it sounded powerful. The cab sat far back, its tires were massive, and the deep rumble of its V12 could be felt in your chest long before it came into view. Soldiers often said, "You don't hear the 537 first, you feel it." Because of its immense size, it wasn't exactly agile. Most of its operations took place in open military zones or under convoy escort, hauling strategic weapons across vast distances. The same chassis also became the backbone for mobile nuclear missile launchers, making it one of the most important vehicles of the Cold War. But here's something few people know: the MAZ-537 wasn't limited to the military. It was also used in civilian nuclear projects, hauling reactor components weighing more than 40 tons to remote power plants across the Soviet Union, places where no other truck could even reach. Amazingly, some MAZ-537s are still working today, decades after their creation, hauling ultra-heavy loads in Russia and Central Asia, and standing as living proof of Soviet over-engineering at its finest. And if you think this beast was unstoppable, wait till you see what's next: a Soviet snow conqueror so wild it needed two V8 engines running at once. Kraz 260. Released in 1979, the Kraz 260 was built with one purpose in mind: to haul massive military cargo across terrain where most vehicles wouldn't even make it a mile. But what made it legendary wasn't just its toughness, it was its sheer size. This beast towered over most other trucks of its era. Manufactured in Soviet-era Ukraine by Kraz, the truck measured over 30 feet long, nearly 9 feet high, and 9 feet wide. Empty, it tipped the scales at more than 26,000 pounds, yet it could haul an additional 22,000 pounds with ease. Under its steel hood, a 14.8-liter V8 diesel engine delivered about 240 horsepower and nearly 2,000 lb-ft of torque, raw muscle for the harshest environments. Its 6x6 all-wheel drive system and reinforced leaf spring suspension were engineered to take brutal punishment from rocky, muddy, or frozen ground. And its design looked every bit as powerful as it performed: flat steel panels, oversized fenders, and 5-foot-tall tires that made it look more like a moving fortress than a truck. The deck sat so high that soldiers often needed steps or rails to climb aboard, but that elevation gave it incredible flexibility. It could transport just about anything: fuel tanks, rocket systems, cargo containers, even light armored vehicles. Across the vast Soviet territories, from Siberia to Afghanistan, the Kraz 260 earned a reputation as the truck that never gave up, no matter the abuse or conditions. Here's a detail few people know: in some rural Soviet towns, utility poles had to be temporarily removed just to let this massive vehicle pass through. Even today, decades later, many Kraz 260s are still in service, working in logging, mining, and fuel transport across Eastern Europe, Africa, and Asia. A true survivor from another era of engineering might. But if you thought this was raw power, just wait. The next Soviet truck didn't just carry weight, it dragged the impossible, with a roar that could shake the frozen earth. 9K714 Oka. If the ZAL 4906 was impressive, the 9K714 Oka redefined what a colossal truck could be. Developed in the early 1980s, this wasn't a rescue machine, it was a mobile nuclear missile launcher, capable of striking targets up to 310 miles away. Built on a reinforced version of the legendary MAZ-543 chassis, this monster stood over 10 feet tall, stretched nearly 40 feet long, and weighed close to 90,000 pounds. Fully armed, it was larger than a city bus, and when its missile launcher extended, the whole system towered like a two-story building. Power came from a 38.8-liter V12 diesel engine, pushing out more than 500 horsepower and an enormous amount of torque. With 8-wheel drive and torsion bar suspension, it could roll across mud, snow, or desert terrain like it was nothing. No obstacle was big enough to stop it. Its design was striking: a compact, armored cab sat at the front, while the rear section hid a massive missile system beneath a retractable roof that opened vertically, almost like something straight out of a science fiction movie. But every inch of it served a purpose: speed, mobility, and stealth. The Oka had to deploy fast, hide even faster, and be ready to launch within minutes, all without a fixed base or runway. Here's the wild part: even though the Oka wasn't officially listed in the INF Disarmament Treaty, the United States still demanded its destruction. That's how threatening it was considered. Today, only a few of these giants remain, mostly hidden in military collections. Those who've seen one in person say it doesn't look like a truck at all, it looks like a rolling weapon of war, a mobile apocalypse on wheels. And if you thought that was extreme, the next truck pushes size and power to a level that makes regular roads look way too small. ZIL 4906. During the 1970s, the Soviet Union faced an incredible challenge rescuing cosmonauts who landed far from civilization, deep in the wilderness where no roads existed. These areas were covered with thick snow, frozen rivers, and endless forests. To tackle this near-impossible task, engineers created the ZIL 4906, a colossal amphibious rescue truck built to go where nothing else could. Constructed by ZIL, this steel giant stretched over 29 feet long, stood 10 feet tall, and measured 8 feet wide, weighing more than 22,000 pounds even before loading any equipment. Every inch of space was built with a purpose to transport rescue teams, medical supplies, and even space capsules while being able to float on water. Powering this beast was a 6.9-liter V8 gasoline engine delivering around 180 horsepower. With four-wheel drive and independent suspension, it could roll through swamps, frozen lakes, and deep snowfields without hesitation. It looked like a mix between a military truck and a floating tank, and it performed just as fearlessly. The front cabin held 3 crew members, while the back area was fitted to carry recovered cosmonauts lying flat for medical attention. Thanks to its sealed hull, the ZIL 4906 could smoothly glide across rivers and icy lakes. The growl of its V8 engine echoing across the tundra mixed with the splash of cold water made it sound almost alive, a mechanical beast built to defy nature. In real recovery missions, this machine proved unstoppable. It could travel more than 60 miles off-road just to reach Soyuz space capsules that landed far from their targets. And here's a fascinating detail: some missions even carried inflatable rafts on the roof, ready for situations where teams needed to split once they reached open water. Today, the legendary ZIL 4906 sits proudly in museums as a symbol of Soviet ingenuity and determination. It remains one of the boldest examples of engineering ever created for the space program, a vehicle designed not just to move through the Earth's harshest terrains, but to bring heroes home safely. But while this truck was built to save lives, the next one in our story was created for a far more dangerous purpose: to carry destruction itself. And with that, we wrap up our journey through some of the most outrageous machines the Cold War ever produced. Throughout this video, we've walked among giants, machines built to defy logic, conquer the impossible, and push engineering beyond its limits. From amphibious vehicles designed to rescue astronauts in the frozen Siberian tundra, to colossal trucks that carried nuclear missiles the size of city buses, each one was more than just metal and gears. Each was a symbol of history, power, and raw mechanical genius. These trucks weren't built just to drive. They were built to create paths where no roads existed, to cross snow, swamps, deserts, and still keep moving under impossible loads. They are reminders of a time when engineering refused to accept limits, and when size wasn't about excess, it was about survival. Now, I want to hear from you. Which of these Cold War monsters blew your mind the most? Which one would you dare to drive, or love to see up close? And if you had to pick one for an extreme mission, which would it be? If you enjoyed this journey through history's most powerful machines, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because every week, we explore new mechanical legends that dominate ice, snow, mud, and the most extreme places on Earth. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.